when we say deadlift, this is one of those few exercises where there's two distinct versions, but they're both referred to as a deadlift. And sometimes people use them interchangeably and say, I deadlift, and then you have to ask them specifically, well, how do you deadlift? Is it conventional or is it sumo? This is because of powerlifting. The sport of powerlifting, one of the major lifts, because they compete with 3 lifts, bench press, deadlift, and squat. The deadlift can be performed both sumo or conventional, and it doesn't matter which one you do, you can pick, and then that's the deadlift version that you do, and your weight counts, just like someone else's weight counts, regardless of if they do conventional or sumo. There's definitely some similarities, but I don't consider them to be the same exercise. They're different enough.
No, I think they're a lot different. I think it's almost as different as comparing a back squat to a front squat.
Yeah, I could see some of that. Definitely. I mean, you have some of the same muscles that are activating, okay, but they're different enough that, I mean, it's that different that anybody who's done a back squat and a front squat, how different they feel.
Totally different recruitment pattern that you're firing off for each one of those exercises.
Now both are very posterior chain.
Heavier posterior loaded,
So people ask which one to pick. That's where I was going. And I think everybody should do both. I do. I think you should practice both of them. You will find that one of them you'll be better at than the other. And this is why people have favorites. Some people do better in one, some people do better in the other. But I think it's a good idea to probably practice both.
My general advice for clients, regardless if you're in the powerlifting community or not, is you have one that you're naturally going to be better at. Everybody's going to, right? That's just going to feel more natural. So you spend 80% of your time trying to get strong in that, because getting stronger in that lift is going to have so much bang for its buck that I wouldn't intentionally be switching back and forth all the time with the two, but I would interrupt it 20% of the time with the opposite.
That's a good number.
So it's just a kind of generic advice that I give somebody. It's like, there's so much value and they're different enough that to not do the other one just because you're not good at it all, you're missing out on some potential gain. So at least introduce it enough that it interrupts the way that you choose to do it most of the time.
Yeah, so essentially a conventional deadlift is your hands are outside your feet. It's a more narrow stance. In a sumo, your feet are outside of your hands and it's a wider stance. Some people can go real wide. I would say for general training purposes, a kind of moderate wide stance. Sometimes people go crazy to limit the range of motion for competition purposes. Personally, for me, Adam, I've gotten through a few sticking points with my conventional by getting better at the sumo. So I noticed that obviously that I got stuck here. Let me practice sumo for a little while. Went back to my conventional, and I was able to break through a plateau.
This is an area. This is also why I compared it to the front and back squat. I feel the same way about that.
Yes.
Like there's been times when I've been back squatting, and then I'm like, you know what? I haven't interrupted that with a good training cycle of front squatting. And let me since I'm stuck at this back squat right here, let me get really good at front squatting. See what happens. And many times what ends up happening is I get stronger in the front squat, I go back to the back squat, and I see myself get strong again. I feel the same way about whatever way whether it's conventional or sumo that you traditionally do the most with. When you hit a plateau, one of the great ways to kind of break through that plateau is to switching to the other for enough of a cycle that you watch yourself get stronger in that one and then come back over, and there is carryover.